Today, we will move on to the last leg of the security issues with respect to GS paper 3. Here, we will be talking about various security forces, their mandates, and some legislations which we need to take care of. Okay, so these are some of the last part of overall understanding of the security issues what we have. So some questions they have recently asked about Unlawful Activities Prevention Act because that was in news at that time recently, and AFSPA was also in news. So all these legislations they ask only when they are in current affairs or some celebrations kind of, or some any other issues which is there. So they will be asking. As of now, they can ask AFSPA or UAPA again because of the amendments what we have made, or they can ask about Money Laundering Act directly, which is very much in news recently. Okay, fine. So first we go with the security forces. So as far as security forces are concerned, the security forces in India can be classified as armed forces, paramilitary forces, central police forces, and state police forces. Okay, there are four different categories. Under that, we have some special forces in armed forces or paramilitary forces or central police force or state police force. Okay, so special police force or elite police corps or special forces, whatever it may be, those are uh, certain things which are different. But a permanent structure is that armed forces, paramilitary forces, central police forces, and state police forces. So these are the four basic things which enjoy some special forces or elite police force kind of. So what they are and how they are managed. So what they actually go in. So that is the basic idea what we are going to see now. Say armed forces. Generally, the armed forces consist of Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force. Okay, all these uh, come under Ministry of Defense, and they are administered, mandated by Ministry of Defense. And in India, President is considered to be the supreme commander of the armed forces. Okay, so that is how it is there with respect to armed forces. All these issues are sorted out by Ministry of Defense, which is the specialized ministry with respect to armed forces. Whereas there are certain security forces which are more than a police force but lesser than an army. So those kind we call it as paramilitary force. So paramilitary force, one of the oldest police force in India was or paramilitary force in India is Assam Rifle, which was formed in 1835. And apart from that, we have some other paramilitary forces like Indian Coast Guard, Special Frontier Forces, Rashtriya Rifles, Defense Security Corps, and so on. So we'll see them when we discuss in large. So these form paramilitary forces. So who govern the paramilitary forces? Say usually we have paramilitary forces under Ministry of Defense, but there are certain cases where Ministry of Home Affairs also take care. Say for example, Ministry of Defense will send training armed persons for all purposes under Assam Rifles, but their administrative control is with Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, likewise, say Special Frontier Forces are under Intelligence Bureau and RAW. Okay, so they take care of these type of forces, whereas you have a Defense Security Corps which is under Ministry of Defense. So there are different mixed controls with respect to paramilitary forces, which is also uh, helping out armed forces. So where they assist, where they try to substitute someone, accordingly the controls have been there. Whereas we have a separate police force. So it is a police force, which is completely under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, this is under Ministry of Home Affairs. So why this is formed? This police force, Central Police Force, was actually mandated under Article 355, because under Article 355, the Union government has to protect the states. When the Union government has to protect the state, they need to have some forces, because armed forces cannot be used against a particular civilian people, because you can't just attack your own civil population. So in order to regulate the civil population, we have some police forces. So what are these police forces? These police forces are Central Reserve Police Force. We have Border Security Force, Central Industrial Security Forces, Indo-Tibetan Border Police, National Security Guard, Sahasrasima Bal. So you can see that Border Security Force was formed after Indo-Pakistan War in 1965, which we thought that specialized border security is required, and thus we had the Border Security Force. And similarly, after Indo-China War or Sino-India War, we had Indo-Tibetan Border Police, which specializes in mountaineering. Okay, and you can see it is Tibetan force, and in this, why we call it as Indo-Tibetan Border Police. It is not that it is only with the Tibetan border. It also had some Tibetans in their uh, forces. Okay, those Tibetans who had settled in India, they were also recruited in this particular case. And after death of or assassination of Indira Gandhi by her own security personnel, we had a National Security Guard, which was specially convinced. And Sahasrasima Bal also came after China-India war. Okay, so everywhere we had some specialized forces with respect to war. Similarly, there was in a public sector undertaking we had in Ranch, we had a fire outbreak. So we understood that certain strategic sectors may require some protection. So we started using Central Industrial Security Force for protecting public and private strategic buildings, infrastructure, and so on. So whereas Central Reserve Police Force is the one which is acting as a reserve battalion for tackling all other aspects. Whereas Rashtriya Rifles, they go for certain specialized power struggles and so on, where we try to use them for specialized purposes. So we have different security forces with different objectives, different aim and objective functions to be carried out at times of disaster or any security issue, right? So these are basic three classifications what we had. Apart from that, we have state police. State police, you have different classifications according to the necessity of the states. Say, for example, we have a law and order investigation, crime, traffic, cyber, okay, intelligence. So likewise, we have many such things which we have in this regard with respect to police at the state level. But as far as at the central level, so it is the three important categories what we have. Right? So we have some special forces which we have mentioned before. So special forces are there in armed forces, paramilitary forces. We have it in even in the state level police. Say, for example, Indian Army has a couple of special force which was formed. We call it as parachute regiment or regiment. This particular para regiment is nothing but an individual soldier, equipped soldier. The soldier will be dropped from a parachute using parachute from the helicopters or jets. So they will just be airdropped, and this airdropped soldier will take care of this particular security issue single-handedly in that particular jurisdiction, right? So likewise, we will airdrop commandos or soldiers, and they try to take care of that particular event or a security issue. So that we call it as parachute regiment of a special force of Indian Army. And same way we have Gatak platoon. It is purely with the infantry. Okay, so this is with infantry. They have a very special category force. It is said that they can respond to a particular security issue within 15 minutes. Okay, so in case if any security issue is informed, within 15 minutes they will be in the spot of that particular issue. So they could equip themselves and react within 15 minutes. Okay, so think how swift and agile the force will be. And this particular Gatak platoon is famous for sudden shock. Okay, so they try to provide a sudden shock to the uh, terrorists and other aspects. Okay, so a sudden surging shock, which a heavy shock, which they could high impulse attack can be provided by Gatak platoon. And we have Marine Commando Force, Maricos. Okay, we call them as Marico. Okay, they are elite forces of the Navy. Though they are called as Marico, they are taken up from various other services also, but they are under the command of Indian Navy. And we have a special force on Air Force with respect to Garuda. Okay, this is done after Kargil. We thought that special Air Force commando force is necessary, especially in these borders. So we had it. And RAW had two important forces, Special Frontier Force and Special Group, which is completely under RAW, and it is not much intervened by the government of India also. And they have their own operations for intelligence gathering and other aspects. And this is only after India attacked by China, we took up. And we have National Security Guards, 1984. In National Security Guards, we have two groups. One, SAG, that is Special Action Group from Indian Army, and Special Rangers Group from Central Armed Police Forces. Okay, so two groups are present. And under this NSG, we have the SPG, okay, which was also after PM, especially for the PM protection, right? And family of the Prime Minister protection, we have SPG culled out from this particular group. Okay. Then we have Cobra Battalion, the Commando Battalion for Resolute Action of CRPF. It was formed in 2008, which we used for Operation Green Hunt and so on. And specialized anti left wing activist extremist actions. And the Rapid Action Force, RAF, so it is also formed by CRPF in 1981. They are riot specialists. Okay, so they are specialized for any type of riots, mob activity. They can control that particular mob activity in that particular way. Okay, all these are some special forces which we have at the union level, at a larger level, at the national level, to involve in certain security and other aspects. What we have. Okay. And as far as other than these, we have Railway Protection Force, we have National Disaster Response Force. These are other specialized security forces which acts on other field. Whereas similarly, as we have special forces in the national level, we have special elite forces of police in the local level. Say, for example, that is state level. You would have known Greyhounds, which we have discussed in left-wing extremism in Andhra Pradesh. We have Black Panthers Bastaria Battalion in Chhattisgarh. We have Jaguars of Jharkhand, Force 1 of Mumbai. This is for Mumbai alone. Okay, so protecting Mumbai by Mumbai Police. Mumbai Police have a special force called Force 1. After 2611, this was announced by the Maharashtra government, and Mumbai Police have formed Force 1. Okay, it's a specialized force of Mumbai to tackle any future attacks similar to 2611. And we have in Tamil Nadu Women Police Commando Force. It's a first time in India we have all women police commando force. And similarly, we have all women police stations which were taken up for the first time. So this is a police force which is completely women. Okay, women police commando forces which were operated. So these are some of the. There are many other elite forces which we have, but these are some of the list which we can have with security mandates across these states. So we have a common ground, a general ground, and then we have some special or elite positions because of their strategies, their agility, their capability, their capacity to break through the security issues, right? Now, in this aspect, we need to understand the security agencies involve both intelligence as well as the investigation. Both are important and both are uh, same side, two sides of the same coin. Without an actionable intelligence, investigation is very, very difficult, right? And investigation with the lead, which is given by intelligence, will lead to security of a particular country. So if a country has to have a better security, you need to have better intelligence, which either prevents or try to provide some lead for the investigation what we have, so that we can solve the issue and we can rescue people and we can have more preventions. So in this way, intelligence and investigations go hand in hand, but sometimes there may not be coordination between these two agencies, which results in lack of success in providing security by these security agencies, right? So some of the intelligence agencies which we came across through the discussions were Intelligence Bureau, which has internal intelligence as a basic objective. We have Research and Analysis Wing, RAW, which is for external intelligence. And we have National Technical Research Organization, NTRO under NSA, Defense Intelligence Agency under CDS, Computer Emergency Response Team. We have Joint Cipher Bureau, and then for forensics and so on. And then we have Directorate of Air Intelligence, Directorate of Navy Intelligence, right? So these are one set of major groups. The other set is we have Financial Intelligence Unit under Ministry of Finance. Similarly, Directorate of Revenue Intelligence, All India Radio Monitoring Services, Signals Intelligence Directorate under Ministry of Defense. We have Aviation Research Center, and we have Directorate of Income Tax Intelligence and Criminal Investigation under Ministry of Finance. So all these are under different ministries. They are coordinated. They are, provided with the collected information. All these are done through NSA. So NSA is at the head who tries to get all information from these, and NSA will update the Prime Minister, Cabinet Committee on Security, and so on, so that the decisions will be taken on time in a proper manner. So this is how the intelligence agencies work. When these intelligence agencies give some actionable inputs, then the investigating agencies take up. Some of the major investigating agencies which we discuss in this context is National Investigation Agency, NIA, which was put up after 2611. And then we have CBI after Santanam Committee recommendations. Then we have Enforcement Directorate. We have Serious Frauds Investigation Office under Corporate Affairs Ministry. We have Narcotics Bureau. We have Director General of Income Tax Investigation, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. So all these are agencies which are created in the recent times, especially NIA, Serious Frauds Investigation Office. Even that is pretty old. It's around a couple of, around 10 years old. And then we have 10, 15 years old. And then we have Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, which is also newly established. Okay, so it's around 10 years old. So all these are some of the agencies which are just a decade old, but others are almost 2-3 decades old organizations. So we need to understand the mandates of each of these organizations, because these are organizations which what do you call, which really wants to link to their every mandate and their function. So how they actually do. Say, for example, National Investigation Agency, 2008, it originally had these as a mandate. Okay, later all these were added. Okay, so recently many things were added, and you can see any activity. Okay, any activity which was done or which can be prosecuted under Atomic Energy Act or UAPA, Anti-Hijacking Act, or Civil Aviation Act, SARC conventions, okay, or maritime protection, or weapons of mass destruction. All these are investigated by this particular agency. And recently, these are included in the amendment. So offenses under the state is already present. Human trafficking, counterfeit currency, prohibited arms, cyber terrorism, explosive substances act, all these are newly added with the amendment which is recent. So these are already present and some are amended and provided. The most important aspect of this NIA is that NIA can investigate any area without any consent or something. There is no restriction for NIA to get some consent or so on. So the entire Indian territory, they are free to move and arrest anybody. Okay. Apart from that, they can also move abroad. So the territories wherever they can. So wherever they are, they can, and they can investigate any person who is Indian. Okay, any Indian, they can just inquire, investigate, arrest, and so on. And apart from that, any person, that is any person in the sense, if it is citizen of India, they have jurisdiction both in India plus abroad. Okay, say for example, an Indian citizen commits a crime against India, say in England, NIA can arrest that particular person. Okay, because he is Indian citizen and he does it against India, though the territory is abroad. Understood? Second thing, any foreigner can be investigated by NIA if they are in Indian territory and committing some crime. Okay, so that is very important. Any foreigner in Indian territory, if he had committed some crime, they can investigate. Say, for example, recently there was an amendment to the Antarctic Treaty extending the Indian laws in Antarctica. In case of any crimes undertaken in Antarctica base, where Indian base is present, the crime can be investigated. Say, in that crime, if in Antarctica we have Bharti and others, Madri, Bharti and bases. If in that base an Indian commits a crime, he can be, or he or she can be tried out. Number two, if a foreigner commits a crime, then also NIA can try, because it's an Indian territory and a foreigner doing some mischief can be targeted. So that is important on part of NIA. Yeah, and NIA can file investigative reports, so they can file FIRs. They have their separate courts. NIA courts are created, and they are directly filed there, so that expediting the, I mean, investigation as well as judgments and so on, convictions and so on. Right. Then comes the CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation in 1963. It can investigate and prosecute anything under Corruptions Act, major financial scams and economic frauds, serious sensational organized crime if it is, or any other thing which is mandated by the state or the central government accordingly, right? But the core aspect is under corruption and economic frauds. So CBI is one of the specialized organization which is governed by CVC, Central Vigilance Commission. So though they don't have some administrative control, they try to control the functioning of that. They try to monitor and supervise the functioning of CBI. And CBI has two aspects. One is the general permit, what they have, okay, and then the consent, what they need to get, the general consent and specific consent. The general consent is that any activity which is under the purview of CBI, if it is committed in state, If it is having general consent, they will just come down, land, and investigate. Whereas in case they are with no general consent and they need to get specific consent, every time when they try to investigate that particular crime, they need to get the consent of the state and come in. And the case also came up in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said the special consent or the withdrawing the general consent is not completely immune. Okay, so it is not completely immune because CBI can enter into search and search or arrest operations in all departments or anything anywhere the union exists or in the union territories. Okay, so the territory of union or union territory of union in the sense wherever the union law applies. But in the states, what happens? They need to get the consent. Okay, usually the states will have general consent. But if the general consent is withdrawn, what will happen? Supreme Court said if CBI is investigating a crime which has happened in the law of union, okay, if the legislation under which the crime has happened is with the union government, then the state's consent need not be applying. Okay, you need not apply for state's consent. Whereas if the CBI has to investigate something which is under the law of the state, legislation of the state, then they need to get the consent of the state. So this is how the Supreme Court has interpreted. And then comes Enforcement Directorate. Enforcement Directorate is mostly with the exchange of money. Okay, international border exchange of money. They involve, say, money laundering, exchange, money exchanges, economic offenders who are escaping from India, foreign exchange regulations, coffee poster. So all these aspects they try to go with the directorate of enforcement, or in short we call enforcement directorate. This is one of the popular organization as of now, which is triggered against many of their population in the name of prevention of money laundering. So this is another important organizations, investigative organization or enforcement organization with their mandate. Whereas there are other offices like Serious Fraud Investigation Office 2003 under the Companies Act of 2013. They are detecting the fraudulent white collar crimes in companies registered under Companies Act. We have Narcotics Bureau, as you know, it is say Narcotics Bureau, Directorate of Income Tax, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, all involve multi agency crime, right? So in that case, what happens? Narcotics Bureau, they try to coordinate with various other organizations like CBI or NIA or whomsoever it is. Okay, so they will coordinate. That is the reason why they are called as a control bureau, right? And same way, Wildlife Control Crime Control Bureau. In case of any wildlife related issue, they can involve in arrest. In case if it involves some murders, say for example, when a person poaches an animal, yeah, if someone is having what do you call murder, right? So someone poaches an animal, and in the meantime they try to have a murder, okay, of a person in the meanwhile. Then ultimately what happens? The crime can be investigated not only in not only by the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, but also by the other agencies, because murder cannot be investigated by the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, right? Only the poaching activity can be done. So in that case, what happens? What they try to have? They try to coordinate with the other agencies also, right? So that is how the thing happens. So they need to coordinate. They need to involve in these coordinations and other aspects, right? Fine. So this is how the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau or any other agencies they try to bring in multiple agencies into the aspect, and they try to involve in certain um, investigation in this particular kind of, right? So meanwhile, there are standalone agencies like what you call the NIA and so on. They can independently do investigations, but Narcotics Bureau, they may have some control aspects alone. They may not have some investigation separately in that particular aspect. Okay, so this is the logic what it happened in this particular time period when agencies have to operate. So there are some limitations also in this regard. They cannot move beyond certain mandate, but they need to depend upon other agencies to do so, right? Or they will just pass on the case to the particular agency. But anyway, this is how the different agencies have different mandates, right? So when this happens, so what are the issues faced by these organizations or security forces? This is a common thing. So I haven't made it as individual because it becomes a more messy thing. So what I did was, it was just a basic common issues which we have in the security forces. Generally, what happens in the security forces, modernization is an hindrance. Okay, so rapid modernization doesn't happen. Okay, especially in state police, okay, or the central police force. So they are not modernized as quickly as possible. Even our armed forces at times have lagging. Okay, say you can see how the armed forces are lagging with uh, lagging in modernization of aircrafts, battle tanks, okay, modernization of rifles and so on. So when army and armed forces are themselves having some issues, possibly these modernization issues are faced largely by the state, okay, and shortage of arms and ammunition, especially by the police force, and poor personnel management from the top to the bottom, okay, and especially in the bottom area, from the constabulary or the jawan or the soldiers till the sub inspectors, inspectors, and below the DSP rank, that region, strata or hierarchy is really, really ailing with a poor personal management policies. And mostly it undermines the prime responsibility. Say, for example, if CBI is there, their core is corruption related cases, but you try to put all into CBI because of some political pressure, some political aspects. Okay, so their mandate has been completely different. And even investigating rape cases and so on, it comes under CBI, right? So that is how CBI will be the main prime undermining prime responsibility have been undermined. And then we have bureaucratization of army. So more amount of bureaucratization happens, especially from civilian side or from even the military side. It's more bureaucracy, less agility, less strategic aspect as happening, and largely cadre management is very poor. Okay, so and in armed forces, this cadre management and bureaucratization two couples together. Say, for example, if CRPF is there, and CRPF, the upper part of the bureaucracy starts with the assistant commandant, where you also remember that assistant commandant of Central Police Forces, separate wing which is recruited by UPSC. So they are getting specialized in this organization. Say, for example, if a candidate is selected at an age of 21 and retires at the age of 60, so through the years of 39 years of experience, they are going to have, they are part and parcel of CRPF. But this particular person can become only ADGP, okay, Assistant Director General of CRPF, right? So that is a problem. The top DGP position, Director General of DG, will be a IPS officer. Say, think an IPS officer who is in a state which is relatively peaceful and who never saw much of riots, who never indulged in much of task force, and they are into And even if they are going to involve in certain task force, they are not as serious as what left-wing extremism and so on. So those type of IPS officers, when they are made as a DG of CRPF, and one who is having 39 years of experience, who has through his career would have been posted in left-wing extremism area, or in the area where insurgencies were high, or in Jammu region, or AFSPA region, or a region which is in desert and so on. So who has a very rich experience, doesn't have a position to what do you call, lead the force. So this morally has affected the forces at the various levels. Say, for example, IPS officers in ITBP, it's too weird, right? So that is how the in-house mechanisms, in-house promotions have really made a concern. And the cadres. So where, say, for example, if I am in BSF, where I have to be constantly in terror region, constantly in border security, the person becomes demotivated. So change of profile, change of jobs, job enrichment, job assignment in a different positions. So that will encourage people, but that cadre management is very, very poor, right? And certain cadres are called as punishment cadres. If you want to be punished, you will be posted in some position. So that mentality has to change. Some cadre as a or position as a punishment posting and so on. Every position has its own importance, and we need to recognize it. And mostly, the police force are largely for the security purposes of the VIPs. So unnecessarily deploying people to VIP security is just having one person surrounded with 60 to 40 to 60 security persons around. It's no way. It's really satisfying the political ego. That's all. In the changing phases of terrorism and what we have, if I want to protect a person, we need to not only present physically around him or her. It is completely different. It's a old method, a traditional method, that that particular person should be surrounded by such a huge number of police personnel or security persons. So the very idea of security has changed. The very idea of suicide bombers and other stuff has changed. But just having a wandering battalion around these guys, it's just a political ego what they have to have some security aspects. So that's a problem what it is, and we waste our security personnel's potential in just securing in a ineffective way. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't secure that particular VIP, right? It is not the method in which we try to secure the VIP, right? So that is how the problem is. So say, for example, in Delhi police, they say around 66% of the Delhi police is just in VIP security, right? So who will then go with the law and order, traffic, and other aspects of intelligence and so on? So that's how the problem is. And then we have infrastructural deficiencies, right? And infrastructure deficiency in all aspects. Say, for example, there are some states which doesn't have funds to provide patrol vehicles with diesel and other stuff. They have only rationing because they have poor finance. So naturally, they try to ration out. So likewise, we have infrastructure deficiency, technologies, modernization in various other aspects which we have. And then we have some absence of robust in-house grievance method. This is one very, very important serious deficiency which we have, because say it's a system of human beings, and the uniform service, how inhumane it turns out to be at times with the colonial legacy and other stuff, that culture of orderly and so on, very pathetic stuff of work environment. And especially in the lower levels of the bureaucracy, especially in the constabulary, they have very huge grievances, but how to dissipate them, how to resolve it, that's a very serious issue, right? So if I have a complaint against my senior, that is my immediate senior, where to go with? So they didn't. Okay, so they have their own issues, they have their own family, they have their own problems. So we don't have a very effective, or rather, we don't have a robust thing. Then only the effectiveness comes. And then politicization of the forces. So we try to name the particular officer as the officer of that party, this caste, that community, and so on, which results in politicization of the forces. Naturally, that will lead to very high security lapse, right? So these are some of the general issues which are faced in all segments, right? And as far as about that, all these are within nation state. Apart from that, in international level, we have International Criminal Police Organization. We call this Interpol, right? International Criminal Police. We call it as Interpol. This is actually an intergovernmental organization with 195 member countries headquartered in Lyon, right? So this particular Interpol, they don't have any FIR kind of or investigations and so on. But actually, what they try to do is they try to provide links and share information, access data with respect to crime and criminals across the globe, right? And they maintain around 19 police databases, which provides information of different crimes and criminals, which is accessible to all the 195 member countries, which is very, very vital. And this also provides some technical operational accessibility, training, and other aspects upcoming science like forensics, digital forensics, okay, or cyber forensics, analysis, assistance, and so on. Locating the fugitives, one who escapes from one particular country after committing a crime, and then combating uh, three important areas like terrorism, cybercrime, and organized crime, because all these are global kind of. Okay, they are not anymore local; they are global. And R&D with respect to trends. So they are the one who specializes in that. So all these are aspects which we try to provide with respect to what you call the Interpol. Okay, Interpol, India is a member in Interpol, and CBI is the nodal agency for Interpol in India. In case Interpol wants to connect to India, they will connect to CBI, right? Central Bureau of Investigation. Then we have some important legislations which we have also come across before. Land Ports Authority of India. When you talk about border management, we did that. And we had Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA. We have a counterfeiting currency. So for that, we have some investigation rules. We have FCRA, which controls donations got from abroad by the civil society. Anti-Hijacking Act in 1982. And then we have Arms Act, which controls the arms license and so on, providing some routes or rules through which the armed force, arms and ammunition can be license can be procured by an individual, or possessing of arms and other aspects. How the offense comes in, all comes under Arms Act. The National Security Act, Explosive Substance Act. We have AFSPA, which we'll shortly learn through. And then Immoral Traffic Prevention Act. This involves preventing trafficking of persons. Okay, so this is going to be replaced by another act, the Trafficking of Persons Prevention Act. So which is a new act which is going to be there. And then we are having illicit trafficking in narcotics. To prevent that, we have some act. We have Money Laundering Prevention Act, FEMA, for Fugitive Economy Offenders Act, and so on. So these are a bunch of legislations which is invoked in various other times so that the security forces can provide security to people across India at various times. And apart from that, for new upcoming issues, so we have police modernization under Private Security Agencies Act, and we have cyber laws. Cyber laws, only these three aspects are there, and only two acts are there. Core Act is IT Act, and some part of Company Act, and we have some NIST Cybersecurity Framework compliance, which we have. That's all. So other than that, we don't have any other basic cyber laws in India, right? And in this, one of the important act which you need to know is IT Act 2000, because cybercrime also we need to know about this. So you need to revise through IT Act, in which we have some important sections. Section 43, this is applicable for a person who involves in damaging the computer systems without permission, that is through information warfare or electronic warfare kind of. And section 66, this is for the dishonesty or some commitment of fraud, cyber fraud. Okay, so cyber fraud kind of. And section 66B, this is for stealing information, especially communication device, information in that particular device, and so on. And 66C, this section deals with identity theft. Say, for example, impostering like another person, hacking password. Basically, it is hacking. Okay, so they'll be having some punishments for about 3 years and 1 lakh fine. And section 66D, this is on impersonation using computer resources, on demand, focusing on punishing cheaters, and so on. Okay, so this is generally like what you call it as section 420 in IPC, general fraud. Okay, so in this way, these are some sections which are there, right? So try to go through this particular act. The most important of this discussion is Armed Forces Special Power Act. So this act you would have come across in various sense, and this was enacted in 1958, and originally it was in Jammu and Kashmir, parts of Punjab, and almost many parts of northeastern India. But now it is only in few places. So the most important aspect of Armed Forces Special Power Act is that they will try to identify an area called a disturbed area. So what is a disturbed area? Disturbed area is an area where you couldn't undertake a normal governance. Okay, so it will be disturbed because of some law and order issues and so on. So an area can be declared as a disturbed area by governor of a state or a union territory administrator or by the central government. Okay, so only these people can declare a particular area as a disturbed area. So the disturbed area can be any part within. It may be only districts, or within a particular district, only a part of district, or inter-districts or interstate, or whatever it may be. So just a particular area will be designated. And the revocation is done by the central government, but state government can pass a resolution upon which the central government can also act. Okay, so that can also be possible. But usually central government doesn't have power to revoke on its own. So provisions, the basic provision is to, when a particular area is announced as a disturbed area or notified as a disturbed area or declared as a disturbed area, and the Armed Forces Special Power Act is implemented, an armed person, okay, a personnel can be empowered by this act to maintain public order, right? And to maintain public order, they can fire upon or use force to the extent that even can cause death. Okay. Say, for example, you can just identify a person, you feel that this particular person may be a terrorist, you can just use force or fire upon them. And even it can cause death upon. And you can destroy any arms dump. You can arrest any individuals without a warrant on just mere suspicion. And you can enter and search without a warrant. And you can have legal immunity for all these above action which is done. So this is a basic provision which was provided. So it's quite natural. It's more extreme discretion which is there upon the armed forces. So naturally there were problems. So when the terrorists or insurgents were targeted, no problem. Okay. When insurgents were targeted, naturally the civilians will also be targeted, either mistakenly or in the purpose of linkages. So some links will be there, or for abuse and harassment. Okay, so in either case, it can be civilians who will be targeted. So when these two happens, this will be at least forgiven, but this cannot be, right, by the general public. So in that way, what happens? A huge hue and cry was there because of the sweeping power which was given. So there were many such incidences, and there were even encounters which were made on civilians. And we have a lady called Tanja Munora, so who was brutally violated and killed. So there was even a mother's protest. Okay, it was infamous across the official corridor, but they were called as mothers' protests. So this mothers' protests were nothing but a group of women, mothers. They protested against this particular Armed Forces Special Power Act nakedly in the streets, right? So that was there across the uh, states of Manipur. And later, parallelly, we had Irom Sharmila, who had around 16 years of fasting against this particular act. So thus we had a large scale uh, abuse of this act, which was taken up by the people against this particular act. So in 2005, following the Tanja Manorama case, we had a Jeevan Reddy committee, and the committee wanted to repeal the act. And similarly, Santosh Hegde committee was also uh, concerned about the sweeping powers. So in the meanwhile, Supreme Court started giving guidelines. In 1998, the Supreme Court said that the act is constitutionally right, okay, but when you arrest a person, try to make it to the nearest police station within 24 hours of arrest. That was the first suggestion, which was or guideline which was given. And but anyway, getting to the police station means he or she should be alive, right? So the problem is that getting killed, that's a problem. And they say that we suspected that they would have been at a, say for example, recent one which you know in Manipur, Mizoram border, 14 people, civilians who were working in the mines, they were just mistaken and they were shot dead by the security persons, which created hue and cry in northeastern states. It's naturally pitiable, right? So how they could do that particular blunder. So in that way, what happened in 2016, Supreme Court clearly said that any death, okay, any death by the caused by the armed forces in the disturbed area, whether it may be a common person or really it may be an insurgent, everything should be thoroughly inquired by the intelligence department at the instance of NHRC. So that was the first important guideline which was there. So the absolute immunity of the armed person was done away with. Okay, and in 2017, Supreme Court said that it is a state violence against people in the conflict-ridden state. Using AFSPA is recognized as a state violence, right? So Supreme Court said that special investigation team has to be set up to probe the encounter deaths which were committed under Armed Forces Special Power Act in these regions by CBI, but it is just a snail pace. You know how it will be. This is how it was. Clear? So as of now, Tripura and other areas have been Meghalaya, Tripura, and all had done away with. But there are, at instance, Manipur, parts of Assam, they want to, Nagaland, they want to get rid of this. And Union government also was in a positive side. They recently, even few months before, when Defense Minister went and spoke in Nagaland, um, he said that even the repealing of Armed Forces Special Power Act is positively taken up by Army and so on. And everybody is trying to be positive upon repealing that. But only when we repeal, we can understand, because it's a catch-22 situation. They say insurgency is there, so AFSPA is there. But people say AFSP is here, that's why the insurgency is still there. Okay, so it's a cyclical process and a catch-22 situation. Let's see how things happen, and if we could successfully repeal this particular act, and we need to wait for another decade how the insurgencies unfold and how the peace is prevailing, or whether the peace is destructed uh, in this way. But anyway, repeating doesn't mean that it cannot be imposed again. In no fraction of second we can impose if certain things goes beyond us. But still, at least some relief can happen, because it's really painful when you visit Assam and other areas. Men in uniform always roam around, and when you just walk on the streets and you feel that you are in some garrison kind of, you are always being watched, your movement is curtailed, you don't feel that particular freedom of moving. In just by the dusk, you'll be asked why you are roaming around. So that freedom is not at all seen, okay, just by seeing the mere thing. But anyway, it's something what we call uh, a person who doesn't have any usage of that situation visits there, they could feel that. But the people who are there from the beginning, since their birth, seeing them, so coping up with them, when they come out of that particular place, roam around freely across India, and then back to their place, when they see that, naturally they will understand what freedom is and how it is. And there are even some states where we rarely see some police personnel around in the streets and so on, right? So it's quite natural. Psychologically, we have invaded into the people, and that's the reason why they are still alienated. They are not coming close with the bureaucracy or the police or security personnel as such, right? So that scars are still present. So in this regard, it's quite natural that we need to have some police reforms. But this is one of the reforms which never largely took off in India, or which is not uh, politically willful on part of parties also in power. We don't know how, why it is not in good books. They are even, see, the problem is that there is a reluctance of change. There is the inertia towards these reforms from the police department as such itself. Okay, so which doesn't want to shatter that colonial power, the prestige, and so on. It's so pitiable that in a democracy of 75 years old, still we have orderly system and so on in the organization. But still, you can find that how it is, how brutally harassed not only the people but also the police personnel themselves because of the police. So it is only one of the very less reformed organization or a wing in the administration. So the police reforms are aiming at improving or transforming values, culture, policy, practice, everything. But who has to bring? So one, the change should come from within, and the change should be provided from outside also. Both the ends, there are reluctance. Okay, so that's a problem. And it is envisaged that they need to perform their duty as a democratic value or a force, but say we call them as police force. Okay, so that police force itself is a problem. The word force itself is a problem. They need to be more into a developmental aspect, developmental force, or what kind of any other thing. So then they are also part of development, but neither they understand it nor we understand it, nor neither the government wants to understand that. So that's a problem why the things happen. And there is a duality also. Say, for example, um, the public order, police, okay, police reforms, prisons or jails basically comes under state. Okay, so center cannot do much of uh, other issues, but overall, providing the security aspect of deploying intelligence sharing, likewise they can provide. model laws, or they can provide for certain what do you call the certain how to put it schemes kind of for uniformity. They can, but more than that, it is not possible for them to do. Right, that's the issue. So there were many such things which we have: National Police Commission, Rivero Committee, Patnabaya Committee, Malimat Committee, Police Drafting Committee under Soli Sorabji. We had Supreme Court directions in Prakash Singh case. We had ARC under Moeli, and then we had drafting committee in 2015. All these recommended. You can see for since 50 years we have, right? But almost of these recommendations, very few would have been implemented. Okay, so that's and that too, with the structure of policing, with the humanizing policing, nothing would have happened. Largely, one or two recommendations would have been implemented. That's the case, what it is, right? So in this regard comes what you call the smart policing. Okay, so what is smart policing? So recently, Prime Minister also spoke about smart policing. Smart policing, what they defined was sensitive and strict, modern and mobile, alert and accountable, reliable and responsible. I mean, responsive, trained and techno savvy. So sensitive to people, sensitive to the poor, compassion, and so on. Strict towards the violators, modern in approach, modern in their thoughts. Mobility means they should be easily mobile from one area to another area, that all transport logistics infra should be there. And alertness should be there. And in case of any mischief done, accountability should be there. And they should be more reliable, not only to the government side, but also to the people side. When we are even reluctant in getting an address explained by a policeman, okay, we don't find them a reliable source. The auto wallahs and others are considered a reliable source, right? Because we fear them, right? So that should not be there. So reliability should be there. They should be responsive in character. They should not be reactive in character. Okay, reactive is one of the most important problems. So they can't be reactive, right? So they should be trained technologically. They should be savvy, and they should also listen. Okay, always when you speak to a police officer on road, they will just prescribe you. They will just instruct you, right? They don't listen at all. So those type of mentalities have to be shed off, and they need to listen. They need to provide solution. That is what they are not there to punish people. Okay, they are there to provide solution to the people. Or in case of any crime is happening, or any problem is happening, or problem is being faced continuously, it is their duty to understand the problem, why it occurs always, and we need to find a. I mean, they are the first information providers on ground to address a particular problem. So they need to identify the problem and report it to the people, I mean, above, so that the reforms can happen, right? In case of some issues are there, then they are the people who have to take it into a development process. So this is how the issue is, right? Say it's very simple. When you have a development of an infrastructure, right? Say bridges, we need to consult the police forces, we need to consult the traffic men, we need to take advice of them. We don't know how far it is done. Even in the recent death, what had happened with Cyrus Mistry, the former chairman of the Tata Groups. Actually, the what happened is you would have known the bridge, the road cuts in this way, right? There is some L and it is a V cut, okay? And here it will be a barricade in this way, in a concrete thing. All of a sudden, the thing is, all of a sudden the road narrows down. The car has burst into that particular corner, that narrowing path where that L-shaped divider has been barged with, right? So that's a problem. So when this type of bridges are designed, whether these traffic policemen were taken into consideration, definitely it would have not been. They would have not been taken as a developmental force itself, right? So they know better how traffic flows, what type of problems will happen, what is blind spot. So whether the blind spot is there, okay. So why all of a sudden narrowing down? Why all of a sudden broadening up? So what proper signals should be there, right? So all these are certain issues which have to be taken up. All these comes under smart policing. So it is not policing comes only with certain problems. They are the one who penalizes and punishes. So they are arms of development, right? They are forces of development. They have to be consulted in certain issues which involves, because every aspect involves security, right? So you have seen now what type of securities we have, right? So in all these aspects, where tomorrow when some larger problem happens, and naturally in this particular case, the police is the one who are going to be present there. Okay, so they could easily come up, say, with all small problems what we face, say traffic snarls. Always, it's quite natural in Chennai, wherever a signal is, either before or after the signal. If there is a bus stop, then that signal is a hell worse signal, right? It's a common approach which has been done. So when we are going to coordinate, so there should be a coordination between the corporation. There should be a coordination with corporation, the MTC, the traffic police, and so on. How to place, where to place one ways, where to have signaling, where to have bus stops. If there is going to be a bus stop nearby a signal, whether there is an alternative, or whether how to have a free flow, right? So because every time a bus may go beyond and then stop, or the bus may stop here, blocking the entire flow of the traffic in the signal. So there may be some issues. So coordination, smart policing is not that it just with security. It is all with also a part. The other side of the coin is development. Why you provide security? It is for development, right? So police also have their due job in development that we need to understand and we need to provide. And with this smart policing, we have one of the important aspect or initiative of the smart policing is digital policing. Okay, what is digital policing? Digitalization of investigation and other aspects. So we have National Digital Police Portal, which is managed by National Crime Records Bureau, the Ministry of Home Affairs. It is a smart policing initiative. And this National Crime Records Bureau was set up in 1986 on recommendations of Tandon Committee and also by a National Police Commission and Ministry of Home Affairs Task Force, which was set up in 1985. So with that recommendation, we had this particular National Crime Control Bureau, Crime Records Bureau. So this particular NCRB will control the Central Fingerprint Bureau. This is one of the oldest organizations which we had. And to be frank, India had the world's oldest or the first fingerprint organization or bureau set up way back in 1897. And from that route, we had Central Fingerprint Bureau, which is now under the control of National Crime Records Bureau, right? So this particular National Digital Police Portal tries to integrate all aspects. Say, for example, we have all states and union territories police infrastructure and every other aspect. We have some digital infrastructure like connectivity and other aspects. And National Crime Records Bureau is a nodal agency which has launched certain variety of portals like maintenance of national database of sexual offenders, online cybercrime reporting portal, cyber train portal, that is cyber training portal, Then we have counterfeit coins. So for currency, for that we have integrated monitoring on terrorism. We have a portal. So CRIMAC is there, NAFIS is there, which is launched recently, and Talash, missing persons. So those who are missing, they will be informed in this particular Talash portal. All these are maintained by National Crime Records Bureau, right? And now in 2009, National Crime Records Bureau introduced this CCTNS, Crime and Criminal Tracking Networking System. Okay, so Crime and Criminal Tracking and Networking System. This was launched in 2009. This is the actual core aspect of the digital policy. Right. What we try to do, we try to integrate the entire National Crime Record Bureau initiatives into CCTNS, right, which we are doing now. So everything is now integrated with CCTNS from NCRB. This is done. Now, what we try to do, we are trying to, there are many other initiatives from other ministries. Say, for example, we have advanced facial recognition system, right? And we have e-courts and e-prisons from the judiciary side. Ministry of Surface Transport has Vahan and Sarathi. MEA, External Affairs, has immigration, right? Track child from women and child, arms licensing, MHA. Okay, FIR registering units. There are many FIR registering units like Excise, Forest, Transport Department, RTOs, okay, CBI, Narcotics Control Bureau, Enforcement Director, NIA, RPF, that is Railway Protection Force. All these are there. All these are also going to be merged in CCTNS in the second phase, right? So what happens in this way, we try to have two different aspects. So CCTNS will give real-time data, pan-India data across all aspects. And that's why it's very, very important project as part of digitalization since 2009, right? Then we have issues in policing. So policing is one of the most important aspect, and issues in policing is very high, right? And you can see that police accountability is a problem, because whether they have operational, there is a dispute between political executive and operational freedom of the police. So this is always questioned. Then we have independent compliance authority. So we need to have, but we don't have to have an effective way for handling police misconduct. Then high vacancies, overburdened force. Okay, constabulary, it is so pathetic. Okay, so their qualification, training issues, promotions, working conditions. This is very, very pitiable. And housing conditions. Crime investigations separately have some issues. Low conviction. Why low conviction rate? Because you don't have sufficient effective FIRs. Okay, so sufficient and effective FIRs. So why? Understaffed, overburdened, lack of training, expertise, insufficient legal knowledge, don't have adequate forensic or cyber knowledge. Okay, influenced by the political people, which is very, very important. Okay, so all these are some of the issues which we face in crime investigation. There are certain issues which we have in police infrastructure, as we discussed before itself. And you know that there is a network called the Police Telecommunication Network. There are many states which doesn't have even a functional police telecommunication network. Instead of radio waves, which we use, they use high resolution waves, so that high frequency waves, so that they have a better communication channel. But many states doesn't use them, or doesn't have functional police telecommunication network. Okay. Then we have police public relation, which is so pathetic, right? So there are many models like Friends of Police and so on. We have many models like in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Delhi, and all. But still, people view that police are more corrupt, inefficient, politically partisan, and unresponsive. And there is no positive building up of issues upon police. When police does something good, it's not publicized, it's not sent to the public medium, and even in the films, in the cultural media, in the social media, in the political media, everywhere the police is being always tarnished as a tool of exploitation. So that is another major reason why the public views are like this, right? And as far as important directives from Supreme Court in Prakash Singh, this directive, 7 directives they have provided. Okay, what are they? Directive 1, constitute a state security commission. Thereby, the state government does not have any unwarranted influence on police. So only the state security commission will exercise all aspects with respect to performance of the police. Right? This is 1. 2, DGP should be appointed with a minimum tenure of 2 years. Okay, through merit. And Directive 3 is that minimum 2 years fixed tenure for superintendent of police and station house officers. Directive 4, separate investigation and law and order. Law and order and investigation should be separate so that investigation can be better and conviction rates will be higher. Direction 5, police establishment board should be there for police related issues like in-house transferings and so on, transfers, postings, promotions, and the disputes within administrative systems and so on. They can be done with the police establishment board. And the Directive 6, we have around National Security Commission, which has to be provided, where the National Security Commission will act with the chief of central police organizations with minimum of 2 years, right? So Directive 7, Police Complaints Authority, where in case erring officers, they will be conducted for the serious misconduct what they have. So these are some of the important directives what the Supreme Court has provided. So these are some of the major issues what we have as security forces and security mandates, their legislations, and certain reforms and issues what we have with respect to these security as a general. So with this, we actually complete the entire session of security in general with paper 3 mains for general studies. Right? Thank you. Bye.